Well, hey guys, welcome to today's video. It is knocking on mid-June here, and it seems like every year the weeks and the months just fly by every year, and we have been working on plant propagation and potting up last year's plants, and just the cycle of nursery work that continues week after week, month after month. And today I want to show you some progress of how some things are growing and what you might expect in your nursery for kind of a time frame for propagation, and then grow out from there for certain plants. So just want to show you a few of our plants and how they look and how they're doing, and just overall see how some plants are progressing in the nursery today. So let's dive in and let's have a look. Now what I have done is come over here to our mist tunnel where we've got a few thousand plants in there propagating, and pulled out one of these trays, and the tray that I pulled out is Phantom Hydrangea. It was some of the very first ones that we started about 6 weeks ago. And here it is sitting inside on a table where we can get a little bit of a better look at it. Now just to show you this very light green, freshest growth here. That's really what we want to see, and that's what excites me when I look at this. And this is a 72 count tray, and I don't see any dead ones. Some of them have flushed out better than others, but I don't see any dead ones in the bunch. And I pulled out a couple of these I'm not going to show you, but they've just got a single one or two tiny little white roots in there that they've started to develop, but they're really delicate and I don't want to damage them. So just showing you, these are beginning to put on a little bit of growth, and really once they get to this stage, they're ready to pull out of the mist. So we'll be pulling these out of the mist in the days ahead and putting them out in a shaded area and beginning to fertilize them, so these will really start growing out. Now another plant that we propagate and grow a lot of is the sedum, and this is just an autumn joy sedum, a really common sedum plant, but they're a great plant for your nursery because they grow well, they overwinter well, they propagate easy, and they sell really well also. And here's one this is not a great example of like a mature sedum by any means, but this one could be sold today. I mean, it's plenty big in a trade one pot. It's well branched, it's got a little bit of height on it, and I sold all of my others, so I don't have any real nice examples to show you. But you know, to propagate these, and I've showed you this, you just take cuttings, you know, from these branches, and these will flush right back out after you take the cuttings. And here's one here that this cutting is probably been here for about 6 weeks. It's begun putting on new growth of its own, but I'm gonna pop this out of here. It's already rooting through the bottom there. And this has only been in here for, you know, just about, I don't know, I'm gonna say about 5 weeks, maybe 6, and it's already gotten to that point. These sedum grow really fast, they root really well. I hope you can see some of those little white fibrous roots there in the root ball. But anyway, we do quite a few of these each year. They turn around real fast, and you know, they're not long-term growing projects. So just to give you an idea of where you might be, say again in early to mid-June, and you know, I'm located in the deep south, so you know, just adjust accordingly for your climate and your growing season. But that's where we are on these this time of year. Same with the phantoms, just adjust the time frame for what you might expect and where you might expect to be with it, where you live for your time of the year. So that's the Autumn Joy sedum. All right guys, so let's have a look then at another plant, the Annabelle hydrangea. Now Annabelle is one of the hydrangeas that I do a whole lot of, and kind of give you a look at one here that I've got planted out here in my landscape, and you'll see why this is a hydrangea that you need to be propagating in your nursery. They are absolutely beautiful, and this is an old-fashioned hydrangea, been around forever, and it's recognizable. I grow this out here. I don't take any cuttings from the one in my yard until winter, and I do them as hardwood cuttings that way. But just to kind of give you an example of what's going on growth-wise with the Annabelle. Now this is a tray of little 2-inch pots. It's just some little tiny pots that I have. So that's a pretty cool looking little plant that's done from a hardwood cutting from winter. Now this is going to be rooted really well, so I'm going to pop this out of here and just let you see. I say I'm going to pop it out easy. You still got to be careful with these things. Yeah, looks really good. So you know, an Annabelle, there's a nice look at the root ball. An Annabelle is a much taller, much more lanky type of hydrangea than, say, you know, a limelight or a pinky or something like that. So, but these were just stuck. So it's June right now. Here's a different one. It's June right now, and these were stuck as hardwoods in, I don't know, probably February or something like that. Just in the winter is all that really matters. But they grow really fast from hardwood cuttings. Contrast that one, or compare that one also to an Annabelle, and this was one that I stuck as a softwood cutting under mist last summer, and it's grown out. I potted this up in probably March or April, and it's grown to this point. Now, what I'm really excited to see right here is all of these cuttings. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 cuttings if I took these cuttings today, and I'm getting ready to do this in the next few days to a week or two. But so we'll prune this, cut it way down here, and take everything above it and use it for cuttings to make more. So just to give you an idea on the growth rate of an Annabelle, you know, that'll kind of tell you something about it. This year, I only had about 25, maybe 30 of these to sell in my nursery, but I sold all of them quickly. They just don't hang around long at all. And next year, you know, unless we have a big winter kill or something, I'll have hundreds of them. So I've got a really nice pile of these right now that look like this, that'll be, you know, really nice and bushy. And for an Annabelle, you know, bushy means it's got like 3 good stems or more, something like that. And because they get real huge leaves on them, and they look nice in a pot with just only about 3 stems. So next year, say by mid-May or something like that, I'll have a ton of these that'll be ready to sell, and we should do really, really, really well with those. But they got to get from this stage to that stage to the next stage first. But that's how they're doing. And something else that I want to mention, you know, there's some real advantages to propagating from hardwood cuttings. You know, I've shown you this with green giants, and I've showed you this, I think, with something like a limelight. But these, you know, growing at this rate, just as you see here, these are going to be ready next year instead of these that were in the mist last year, grow out this year, and then ready to sell in year 3. These are going to be ready to sell the second year, which is really 18 to 20 months after propagation, as opposed to 30 or 36 months or whatever after propagation here. So hardwood cuttings, definitely the way to go with Annabelles. So just one of those things while we're doing this little exercise to point out. Now, another plant to show you that's one of our commonly propagated plants here is the green giant. Now, this looks a little different than anything you've seen me do before, but let me give you a close-up of this one also. Here, if you look right here at my fingertip, you can see those little brown tips. That's where I took the cutting from, or that's where I trimmed the cutting when I took it. So it's put on little pieces, these little green shoots that are starting to come up. Now, I did some of these just kind of as an experiment, just kind of as a growth experiment to just watch these grow in these little small clear cups. And if you look closely, hopefully the camera will focus on that. Right there where my finger's pointing, you can see a little brown root right there, right in the very bottom of the cup. And you always know that that's an emerald green, or excuse me, an arbor vitae, because their roots are always this kind of brown color. But this has started rooting, and I did some in clear cups just so we can watch them, and I did them of different size cuttings, like small, medium, and large size cuttings, kind of just arbitrarily decided which ones of those were which. But, you know, so again, we're in the second week of June, and a plant like an arbor vitae that we stuck as a hardwood cutting, you can see how much more slowly that roots than the Annabelle, even though they're both done from hardwood cuttings and they're both done at about the same time of year in the winter. And, you know, those Annabelles I just showed you, they had a nice, full, thick root ball. Those things are really ready to be potted. But these, I mean, this will be able to stay in this little cup all the way through the end of the season. So big differences on how different plants grow, and you know how long it might take them to get ready to be sold. So you know, this year we'll just focus on rooting this one and let this put on some fresh growth, and next year we'll pot this up in late winter, early spring, and by fall of next year this will be ready to sell in a trade gallon about 18 inches tall or so, and really nice and thick. So that's the green giant. And the last one I want to show you, you might remember back to, I think, around March the 1st or end of February, I showed y'all that we were growing Christmas trees this year for a Christmas tree farm down here, growing some liners out for them. Now, I showed y'all when I potted those up that these were about 12 inches tall. And guys, it is early summer, and this thing has doubled in size. This thing is about, it's easily 24 inches tall. That might be 28 inches tall. And let me see if I can pop this out of here and just have a look at what the roots look like. I don't want to dump my fertilizer. Oh yeah, check the root ball out on this thing. It looks fantastic. So I can only imagine how big these are going to actually get this year, which is great because I want the farm we're growing for, you know, I want them to be really pleased with the product we send them. So if it continues on this trajectory and at this growth rate, I mean, these things are going to be close to 4 feet tall by the end of the summer, and I couldn't be happier about that. So got to keep them fertilized and got to keep the water to them because they're going to get root bound quickly. But anyway, that's just an example of the Murray cypress. And you know, all your fast growing screening tree type trees are going to put on this kind of growth once they're potted, and once the heat gets to them and, you know, you're keeping them soaked with water every day, they grow really, really, really fast. And this is just an example of that. So I couldn't be happier with this little project. So in going through some of these plants and just kind of seeing how they're growing, and there's a lot of other stuff I could show you, but it just gets repetitive and it's more of the same. Just wanted to let y'all know how some of these plants are growing early in the year. You know, we could do this again in late July, August into early September, and the picture looked totally different. And, you know, we might do that and just kind of see how things have progressed to that point. But for now, for this point in the season, I wanted you to see how things are doing and how things are growing and how propagation is starting out. So that's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate y'all watching. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one.